Hi, everyone, and welcome to Starting with IEP. I'm your host, Flor Amelia, and this is episode 14. It's a deep self-interview type of questions that's IEP focused. But I've been having today has been such an emotional day. It's been very draining for me. I did go to a support group. I've actually been going to Bible study classes, and I'm meeting like a group of women that their faith is so strong. And I'm so sorry if I'm like sharing too much information about me, but I feel like I'm not alone. I feel like as a special needs mom, sometimes I feel that I have to do everything and I have to put up a front, right? Or put up this mask that everything is okay because I need to show up to work. I need to be a mother of my kids. I need to be a good wife. There's just so many different roles. And I feel like I have been doing such a great job checking in with my mental health, right? Or making sure that my mental health is okay. And one of the things that has been helping it is making sure that my spiritual health helps with my mental health. I need to make sure that one helps the other. So with that, I realized how sad I was today. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna try not to get too emotional, but I feel that I need to share because I think maybe today was such a hard day because I knew I was going to talk to my daughter's school team, and it's in regards to my daughter's speech goals. Aaliyah's communication is very sensitive to me because Aaliyah has had 5 brain surgeries, and after every brain surgery, we get like a different version of Aaliyah. And when we get a different version of Aaliyah, the reason why it's so impacted is because where her seizures start, it's mostly in that language area of her brain. That's how her neurologist explained it to me. So one of the surgeries is to just take a region of that out. And then there's just so much, you guys, like even talking about it, maybe I'm like tiptoeing around it because I'm not trying to get emotional with you guys. I already told you that's why the first episode is not in a video. I guess I can't still be myself with you guys. So I'm so sorry, but maybe if I'm holding back, it's because of that. But going into these meetings, and this was an informal meeting, but I requested more people to be present because I just wanted to make sure I feel comfortable. Because even in the IEP meetings, I surround myself with people that I do feel comfortable being there. They're my sounding board in those meetings. And I think it's so important. I hope all you moms, dads that are going to these IEP meetings do not go alone because I know what it can be. This meeting is so emotional that sometimes you're like, am I crazy? Did I really go too far left or too far right? Like you just don't know how you feel sometimes or how you portray yourself. So it's actually nice to have someone that comes into those meetings and be like, no, you were fine. I understood you. You were clear. No, you were not too overboard because sometimes I feel like maybe I can be too much. Actually, this reminds me of our second episode when we were talking about being that parent or being a little bit too much. But I just have to remember at the end of the day, I'm my daughter's advocate. You guys probably wonder, why do I care so much about IEPs? I care a lot because Aaliyah's IEP not only helps her establish goals at schools, but I know it's a living document, but I've also seen it as a family document as well. Early on, my son, my 14-year-old, well, he's now 14, Bruce, when he was much younger, I want to say like around 8 years old, he was asking me who's going to take care of Aaliyah once I'm gone. And our family is like in Jersey and in Iowa and in Florida. We have no family here in Maryland. So it's just us. So he asked, who's going to be taking care of her if something happened to his mom and dad? So at that time, we decided that we're going to do genetic testing and we're going to make sure if we do want Aaliyah and Bruce to have more siblings, that they get genetically tested to make sure that there's no risk of having children that also have epilepsy. Worried about it and it came out clear. But the reason why I'm calling it a living family document is because all of the goals that they're working on, we're also working it at home, especially about communication and self-advocacy. It really does matter. All these IEP meetings. And I actually do talk a lot about her siblings in the IEP meetings. I do talk about the family vacations that we go to and also the hardship. I'll like to share about how I actually was judged in one of the IEP meetings in the past that I shared how sometimes her siblings can take advantage of her. But I want to share that her younger siblings at the time, maybe they were like, I can't really estimate because they were so scattered, but like 2, 3, 4 years old. So they don't understand. They just know I don't want to get in trouble. Aaliyah did it, but they would also do it for Bruce. But Bruce is typically so focused on like his sports. He's typically not home because of after school programs for him. And Aaliyah would be at home, right? Because at that time she would be at home. Now she has more activities. But I know I shared that. I was like, I need more self-advocacy goals because Aaliyah, when I ask her a question like, Aaliyah, who did this? She wouldn't answer me. And then her siblings, they would be like, and then I asked her sibling, like, who did this? They're like, Aaliyah. And then the other one, Aaliyah. I was like, Man, but I know Aaliyah didn't do that. My gut tells me Aaliyah didn't do it. Because typically when I'm like, Aaliyah, who did this? She would make her face. She is so expressive, you guys. She is so expressive. When she's mad, she will show me. I get intimidated. She's 16 and she's taller than me. I don't know if I told you guys. I'm actually 5'1". She's taller than me. Her facial expressions. She's an open book with her facial expressions. You would know if she's mad, disappointed, sad, everything. But when I ask her, did you do this? I know it's not her fault because her face is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, if she did do something, I would see it in her face. And I told the school this. And one of the things that I heard back is they were more questioning my parenting, how I parent my 4-year-old at the time. I was being ridiculed about how I need to do better empathy. I think that was the word actually that she used. Empathy goals on my other kids. It was like, it doesn't sound like an Aaliyah problem. It sounded more like an empathy problem. Now that hurt. That really hurt. I was being honest with them. I was asking why, if it starts here at home, people outside may take advantage of that for Aaliyah. Everything starts at home. So I was sharing something personal so they could understand how it's also self-advocacy is going to be used at home. Now she's in a self-contained classroom where everyone has their one-to-ones. This is a non-public school placement. Everyone has their one-to-ones. And sometimes it can be such a great setting because all the interventions, and again, I'm very fortunate. I feel very blessed that my daughter's in that program. Very, very, very blessed. But sometimes, those like jabs at you, they hurt because I'm trying to prepare my daughter for her adulthood. It's not always going to be cushion wrapped, right? It's not realistic. That self-contained classroom is not the real world. So those are some of the examples that I was sharing. I also did a PowerPoint once that I showed them. Actually, I remember my very first PowerPoint presentation, but it wasn't a PowerPoint. It was more like paper, but it was a PowerPoint that I just printed out because this was over a decade ago, 13 years ago. I remember because I remember another mom told me to do a presentation. And at the time I was talking about Aaliyah. I was like, I see her going to college. I see her going to college. I see her driving. I see her, I forgot, I can't remember, but I remember car and driving and college were important to me. So I remember saying that. Now, in these presentations, I want her to tell me where she wants to go when we go to these family trips. Right now, going to church has been so big for my son, for my 14-year-old. He wants us all to go as a family. There has been some churches that have been very dismissive as like, you guys need to head outside because my daughter's making too much noise with her vocal stereotypy. Oh my goodness, just thinking about that. But my son, he asked Aaliyah, and Aaliyah went, and I know it's so hard for her. It's so hard for her to stay still. It's an hour-long mass, and she does it for the love of her brother. I remember the first time, I was so surprised. I remember we were sitting in the back close to the door. I was like, just in case this happens and anyone tells us to leave, we can just get out. But Aaliyah, for the love of her brother, did that. She did an activity for her brother. Aaliyah doesn't like swimming so much. She doesn't like getting in the water, but she sees all of her siblings going in the water. So she's conquering her fear of getting in the water. She was hanging out with me, but she wants to be with her siblings. I'm like, oh man, now I have to get in the water because now she's in the water. But she does things for the love of her family. I would love for her to tell me, I want to go in this place, which I want to say she does have a communication board. She does have a device. She can use that. But right now she's in this phase that she doesn't want to use her device. Definitely, if I put it in her book bag, she takes it out. But the school, I know it's a communication tool that they're using. And that's one of the conversations that we had today. But I want to help her for her to use more of that spontaneous speech. That's another presentation I remember making. I was like, Aaliyah just does so much, but we need to focus more on how she can speak for herself, not just being so compliant or listening to what other people want her to do. I want her to be, no, I don't want to go there. Instead, can we go here? And the mornings are it's so hard sometimes for her to go to school. She wants to sleep like any other teen. Okay. My other teen, that's 14. Mornings are hard for him too. But he can tell me. I had a bad night. I couldn't sleep. It was hard. He tells me I didn't get my 7 or 8 hours. I can't remember which one actually he tells me that he doesn't get enough of. So Aaliyah can't tell me that. She can't tell me what's bothering her or she's having cramps. At this time, she's not at that phase. Even if we put the communication or the communication board, the device or the board, so often it's us saying like, is it this? Is it this? It's a yes, no question. And she's pretty good at answering this yes, no, which we worked very hard on that goal. But now we're in this phase where she needs to clarify. I see you're mad. Why are you mad? Tell me what triggered you. I also want her to tell me, how can I fix it? I actually wrote an email to the school once about these communication goals. And I'm like, I feel that I'm not asking too much because my 6-year-old I have to share actually the email so you guys can see how emotional I can get sometimes. Well, not emotional, but sometimes I think when other moms talk to me, they think I'm very direct with them. Actually, no, I'm actually very emotional. I tell them what's going on at home to get it across, but I'm also trying to work. What applies at school does apply at home. And again, this goes back to this IEP as us seeing it as an IEP family living document because it helps out the family. I remember saying, if my 3-year-old is having issues, why is she crying at soccer? She was crying soccer because she's not doing well at soccer. She's not making any friends. So then I made sure that I go there before the soccer practice ends. I will talk to the other moms. And when I talk to the other moms, I would suggest a play date so that way my daughter can play with that little girl. And then the next time they do come to the soccer camp again, she has friends and bam, it's done, right? I fixed it. I fixed the problem because she told me exactly what was bothering. And then I was able to understand a little bit like, how can I make it better? She told me how she wants to have friends there. She's sad because she's going to soccer practice, how to make friends. Same thing with Bruce. He hates math. Not that he hates math. I think he was just having such a hard time because he wasn't as good as he used to be with it, right? When you lose practice of it. Now, I asked him, why is it so hard for you? He was telling me how he can't listen to the teacher. He's watching her do it, but then he has to follow it. And then I was, oh, we can use ChatGPT. No lie, like this is seriously what I told ChatGPT, and it'll break down step by step how to answer the question. So it'll be like your additional wine because he was really hating it. And then he was telling me how he was studying. And when he tells me how he was studying, I was able to break it down. Now I'm sharing these examples to you to show this is what her siblings are doing. I want something similar for my daughter. I want to ask her why, and I want to ask her how, and then how also I can make it better. Because basically, for my son, he wanted to learn how to do the math problem better. And I was able to ask him like these how questions. I was also able to do this to my other kids. And I was like, all my kids can do that. We have a good communication system going on, but my daughter, no. So because of my family dynamic, I go back into the IEP and I ask them, this is what I'm needing from the team so Aaliyah can have a better relationship with her siblings, with being part of the family. Everywhere we go, Aaliyah goes. We don't leave Aaliyah behind. So I just want to share that that's why I consider IEPs more of a living family document because this is all of us. So one of the questions that I have here is how has my child's IEP shaped the rhythm, energy, and decisions of our entire household, not just the child who has the plan? I'll tell you something important, actually. My son, my 14-year-old, he already knows what an IEP is. I think he's been known for a while now because 3 years ago, Bruce asked his dad, Sean, why is mom so upset? I guess maybe the word that he used was anxious. Why is she this way? And Sean is like, there's an IP meeting. She always gets this way. I get anxious before I get the day of, and the day after, I'm still recovering from it. I'm still recovering. I know you guys are probably like laughing right now because you're like, how, if you know so much about IEPs, you help so many families, how is it? Because it's my daughter. I understand when you guys are struggling with those IEP meetings because I am emotionally struggling with it too because it's about my baby. It's about my baby. That's when I know it affects the family. I remember, I think it was last year, something with speech. It's always like a speech or independence goal. I remember. And then Bruce is like, I'm going to be in that meeting too, so I can share why Aaliyah needs X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, sure, why don't you come? And you can also hear. I was like, yes, actually, please do. Because my son, just like my husband, is my rock. He's very mature for his age, actually. So that's when I realized that it affects the family. Another question here that I have for myself to share with you guys is when did I first realize that the IEP wasn't just a school document, but something the whole family carries emotionally? Actually, I just answered that. So I guess that was when I realized that this IEP just has this whole how it carries my family emotionally, mentally, and practically. So it embeds all of that. IEPs are very important for us because these are goals that are going to be helping us for Aaliyah's adulthood because once Aaliyah hits that adulthood, school is no longer there. There's no cushion. I promise you there's no cushion because I'm working with a lot of families. I have a lot of friends that their kids are now adults and they don't have that support system like they felt like they had in school. So it's very different. So going more now into a personal reflection, I want to share the moments that made me feel that I was giving too much attention to the child with IEP, Aaliyah, and how did I navigate the guilt that followed. That's actually one of the reasons why I got so emotional today. I've been talking to my other children's teachers, and it sounds like my other children need attention, not just the one that has an IEP. I was so focused today about my daughter's informal speech meeting with the school to talk about her IEP goals. And just yesterday, my daughter's teacher is just telling me that my daughter is actually a loner. That broke me, you guys. My baby girl. I was like, she's as talkative as me. I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. At home, she's fine. She's happy. She talks to all her siblings, but then I was like, oh my goodness. And then I was writing notes to myself. I was do this. And then I was talking to the teacher. Yes, I'll make sure that it's just like me and her time. Well, definitely. I was telling dad, then dad was worried. And then we were talking to her. And then, but for her, she's fine. She tells me that she's fine. But this is something that the teacher is telling me. And I want to make sure that I do listen to the teacher. So I was just scared. I think I don't want to mess up like I messed up a few years ago. Maybe not a few years ago. I think it was closer to a decade ago. Because I know all I thought about was my daughter's IEP, my daughter's school, my daughter's medical issues, the doctor. I felt I wasn't really present for Bruce, my 14-year-old. I was so afraid of losing Aaliyah, but I was not so present for my 14-year-old because I felt like I needed. So it's like we divide and conquer between me and my husband. I was like, okay, you got Bruce, I got Aaliyah. The reason I guess I got more Aaliyah was because remember at the time I told you, I don't know if you guys remember from the first episode that I don't sleep. Well, I'm actually doing better with my sleep now, but before it was just sleep 2 to 4 hours and then I can monitor her seizure activity. So I think I became more of that parent. And I actually asked really good questions to the medical team. Not that my husband doesn't. He actually is much better at asking questions. But I think sometimes with my daughter, I just spit things out. And I need to know I'm not going to let it go. No one's going to leave this room until I get this question answered. Seriously, no one's going to leave. You're not answering my question. Okay, who's your supervisor? Not that I'm ruthless. I want to say I'm not, but I think messing up. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember, maybe this is your first time hearing my story, but I was shut down before and I lost Aaliyah's medical intervention. I'm not going to do that again. First time, understood. There's no second time. I'm not going to mess up again. So I guess that's why I'm so much like that. Now, going on to our next question is, what part of the IEP journey has changed me the most as a mother? I want all my kids to advocate for themselves, so there's no difference for that, right? I have a lot of fear. My biggest fear is what's going to happen when I die? What's going to happen when Sean dies? And Bruce, when he was little, he did ask, what's going to happen when you and dad die? What's going to happen? And you guys, I'm so afraid because I don't know how Bruce's wife is going to be. Is she going to be accepting of my daughter? Are my other kids, is Amy's husband going to be accepting? Are their life partners going to be accepting of my daughter? If not, is it going to hurt their relationship? Is there going to be a divorce because of it? Because of Aaliyah? Because, my goodness, I'm so sorry. I just don't know. I know I cannot make them be there when me and her dad are not there. I need to make sure that we put goals in place that's going to prepare her for adulthood because when she's in her adulthood, it's going to be harder. It's going to be much harder. So I feel right now I'm setting up this foundation. I want the foundation to be strong, regardless of how many surgeries she had, regardless of all of the seizures that are occurring, regardless of all that. I need the foundation to be strong in order when the day that I pass away, it's going to be easier for my children if they choose to be there for Aaliyah. Hopefully they do. I often pray for that. And I think that's my fear and that's also my hope. And I'm so exhausted because of it. Always trying to make sure I want to lead an independent life. A lot of the IEP meetings, I'm saying like, I see the word prompted here. I need it to be faded out. I need you guys like to focus on goals for it to be independence. Same thing with the communication goals. So today we were talking about like Aaliyah, they gave me the 80% of the time she chooses to do vocal communication, not her device. Therefore, we should not use mode of communications for her to respond. Therefore, we should have more vocal communication goals than her responding with her device. Her device should be more used as a tool, as an intervention, not something that we're collecting data on because Aaliyah's preference is to communicate verbally. I think everything when it comes to IEP, I think about goals, how it's going to be benefiting her because who is she going to live with? If she wants to live with me, great. But if she doesn't, I want to make sure that she can vocally tell me, Mom, I want to have my own room or I want to have a roommate. Maybe she doesn't want to live with me. I don't know. I want to give her these options. I want her to advocate for herself. I still remember that one time, remember you guys, when she said, shut up, I want to lay on the couch. Oh my goodness. That was such a huge moment for me because she told me to shut up. I mean, how many moms are happy that their daughter tells them to shut up? This one, me. I was very happy that she did that. What do I wish someone had told me in the beginning of this journey about how emotionally consuming an IEP can be for a parent? Actually, I want to say a lot of parents told me how emotionally consuming it can be. A lot of families told me, and it went one ear and went out the other. I knew it was going to be hard. I just can't describe it. It's very exhausting. But maybe one of the things that I wish that I would have listened to more is definitely find your community. Find the people that will uplift you. Find the people that will help you find resources. Definitely find them. And I actually called, there was a very special person. She started a support group in our area, and I've been there for over a decade. And I called her and I thanked her so much because I don't know where I would be with my mental health if it wasn't for that group. And hearing these ladies share resources and how that county works, like I learned so much from them. And I also learned what to expect with siblings. So I was getting prepped for that as well. Now I'm hearing, well, now their kids are in college and the siblings are in college. I'm like getting prepped for that. I'm like so scared actually, you guys. And now she leads one of the faith groups. She leads one of the Bible groups, right? So I thanked her. I was like, my goodness, you helped me with my mental health and now you're helping me with my spiritual health. And that meant so much to me. She's been consistent. She's an angel. I don't know if she knows this, but definitely I see her very much like an angel. So I was so grateful for her. Just she's always been consistent. And that's so great. You guys, I'm so sorry. I want to share more, but I have to pick up my daughter. Oh, I can't wait to tell you guys. Okay. Soon, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to share an episode about how Aaliyah got her internship. I can't believe it. I know. Okay. And she's getting paid for that job. Oh my goodness. Okay, calm down. I'm going to share some videos too, because at first I was like, I don't know how she's going to do it, but she's actually loving it and she's learning so much and she's a workaholic. I think she got that from me, you guys, because this girl doesn't want to stop working. So I have to go pick her up from her job. She definitely has a one-to-one there, but they're telling me, she actually texted me earlier and she was like, Aaliyah's doing it on her own. I was like, yes, that's so good. You know why that's so good, you guys? It's so good because it gives me a hint, kind of lets me peek into her future that maybe soon in her future she can have a job on her own, that she may not need that one-to-one, that someone actually can hire. I've been praying. I was like, I just want someone to hire 5 hours a week so that way she has her money, so that way she can make her, because this girl likes to shop. So so happy to see how independent she is. And she respects her breaks. And then as soon as the alarm goes off, when her break time is over, she continues to work. She doesn't say more time because she knows she has to work. She knows those bins need to be put up. So it's just so great. It's just so great. It's so great. Her future is so promising because before I was just afraid. I want Aaliyah to feel like she has a meaningful life. I mean, like a lot of the times when we say, hi, how are you? Or hi, what's your name? Oh, what do you do for a living? We describe ourselves with what we do with our lives. And now Aaliyah can be, if she chooses to want to do that, continue to do that, it's like, oh, that's my timer, you guys. I'm so sorry. Okay. That was just my timer saying, I need to wrap this up. So I'm so sorry. I know this is a very short episode. I want to share more, but my mom duties are calling for me to pick her up and then picking up my other 14-year-old who has been studying at school. So, yes, but I'll share more. I don't know if you like this type of episode. I'm so sorry I didn't bring a guest, but I felt like I needed to share. Actually, I'm not done with this episode. We were going to talk about the sibling dynamic and more about the IEP family related goals. We were going to talk about balancing attention between children, more about community engagement. Yeah. And I guess I was going to talk more about legacy, fear, and siblings' future, which I want to say I did touch a little bit in. But can you please put in the comments or just send a message to me directly if this was okay? I hope you guys didn't mind. I love sharing this time with guests because I want everyone's stories to be shared. You learn so much from so many stories, from hearing other people's stories. I want to say that's how I grew with my support group. I've learned from these ladies so much. So much. So I guess I was trying to do something similar. But today, yeah, definitely I was having a down day. I felt like I wasn't enough for my children. I know I'm showing up for work, but I felt like I wasn't showing up for my children. And I don't want any resentments from my kids that don't have a disability. I don't want them to have any resentments saying, oh, mom always focuses on, I want them to all have a really good supportive relationship. So I thought I should talk about that and how the IEP has definitely helped with my daughter's self-advocacy goals and more communication. But if you guys want me to keep on talking about that, please let me know. I didn't finish, but I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing how this episode is short, but I hope you guys don't mind that I kind of rearranged the episode schedules so that way I can talk a little bit more about how the IEPs affect families and my story and how it affected mine. Okay, well, I hope you guys don't mind I did this episode. I love you guys so much. And don't forget to subscribe. Please leave a comment. Please email me. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you guys want to be part of the episode where I can interview you, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. Would love to share your story. This will be so great because families, again, we learn from each other. Okay, take care.